Please welcome our next storyteller, Frank D'Amato. Come on up, Frank.
So as I was growing up, I began to realize that my entire life there had been being kept from me an enormous secret. And I was suspicious about it because my father was never around, and all I wanted was for my dad to be around and be a father. So I found out what the secret was when I was 11 years old, and I found out completely unintentionally, and when I found out, how I found out changed my life. My best friend had a babysitter, and her name was Anna. And Anna one day called my mother and invited us over to her apartment to have lunch. Now, this was highly suspicious because Anna and my mother were not friends at all. So something was up. So we go to Anna's apartment, which was like only a couple of miles away from where we lived, but was in the worst neighborhood. And Anna serves us some dry rice and beans. And while we're eating, she says to my mother, "You know, I see a man who walks around this neighborhood all the time, and he holds the hand of a little boy. And this man looks exactly like your husband." So I looked to my mother to see how she would react to this, and she laughed it off. She said, "Oh, isn't it funny how some people look so similar?" But I didn't laugh. I knew that whatever Anna was suggesting and whatever the secret was, it had something to do with that, and I was going to find out that day. So when we left, I was on the hunt for my father's car, and my mother drove, and I was checking every parked car that we passed, looking for a white Ford with red interior and 4 doors. Ma, that's Daddy's car. Stop. But my mother kept driving, and she said, "No, it isn't." But she hadn't even looked. So I screamed, "Ma, stop, that's Daddy's car." And my mother stopped the car, and when she did, her whole body sort of slumped over. And as I looked at her, I knew that if I was going to find out what was going on, I had to do it myself. And more than anything, I wanted to know. So I just lost all my fear in an instant, and I just said, "I'm going to find him." And I got out of the car, and I just began ringing doorbells, bottom bell, middle bell, top bell, and I screamed at anyone I saw, "Have you seen a man? He's about this tall, and he has black hair." Bottom bell, middle bell, top bell. "You must have seen this man. His name is Frank. He has a beard, and he walks around here with a little boy. You must have seen him." And I got nothing but blank stares and frightened stares until finally, seemingly out of nowhere, an old man appeared across the street, and he called to me, and he said, young man. And I went over to him, and he pointed to the 3rd floor of a house, and he said, "The man you're looking for lives right up there." So I went over to the house, and I started ringing the top bell, and I didn't let go. I just kept ringing it until the window shook open, and a woman's head appeared. And she had bright red hair, and she was smoking a cigarette, and she looked down at me, and she recognized me. And when she recognized me, all the color just drained from her face, and she panicked, and she screamed, "Oh my God, Frankie's here! And then she disappeared into the apartment. And I could hear my father from inside yelling in a panic as well. What? I waited about 10 minutes for my father to come downstairs, and my mother left me alone with my father. And we sat in the front seat of that car, and I couldn't even look at him. I was so angry. I just stared out the window while he spoke. And he said, "Frankie, you have a brother. His name's Billy, and he's 2 years younger than you." And when my father told me that, I started thinking about my whole life. And I realized that my whole life had been this lie. And my whole life had been this like facade. And then I realized, I learned that that's what life was. Life was just a facade. And then my father kept going. He said, "Frank, I have to tell you something else." I thought, something else? He said, "Billy, when he was 9 months old, he fell out of a high chair. He cracked his skull open. Billy's brain damage. He'll need people to take care of him the rest of his life," he said. And then my father, he started to cry, but he wanted to hold it back, so his voice became this pleading whine, and he said, "I never meant for you to find out this way. I wanted to tell you when you were older, but I didn't know how. How could I tell you how?" And then he broke fully into sobs. And after a while, he said, "All I ever wanted was for my sons to be together, for my 2 sons to be brothers. That's all I ever wanted." And for the first time in my life, I realized I had something that my father wanted. I could be a brother. It would be easy. All I had to do was build a facade.